Guys, it's Melissa. Hello. Um, I'm moving the camera around. Yes, doesn't mean it's shaking. I'm just moving it. Wait a minute. Someone's over there by my door. I'm waiting for someone to fix the dishwasher, possibly today. Um, so we are moving. We are moving in May when the lease is up, unless something happens before that. So, we are headed out. We are not renewing our lease in this place. They have put the apartment up, way up. They are being really kind of harassing here yesterday. I got about 5 emails because my rent is late. I'm like, yeah, I know that. Very aware of that. That's what the late fee is for when you're late, right? So this place likes to charge a late fee and then harass you a couple days, basically, after they give you a late fee. So I'm like, my late fee means I'm going to be late, and it means I have until the end of the month to pay this. So they're like, well, then we're not renewing with you if you have a late fee. And I'm like, you know what? You can stop harassing me with your emails here. So it looks like they're trying to get people out. We have a neighbor who's out. They wouldn't fix his stuff. They wouldn't take care of anything for him. They're losing a lot of people, and yet they want to be able to come in, it looks like, and remodel a lot of places because they're having a higher standard, and they want, everything to be, looking better so that they can raise the rent. So I asked someone around here, I'm like, what is going on with this homelessness over here? And she's like, well, people are building, and people from Denver and other places are coming up, so the rents are going up. So I was downtown yesterday with my son, and we saw what was in the news about 8,800 apartments being built here. So it's just something like, yeah, this headache and these little notes you send with, pick up any ashtrays. I don't smoke. I have a son who smokes. Pick it up, and it's like, you know what? We're allowed to smoke here. You are allowed. There is an ashtray. There's a cleaning fee that's hooked onto this. And, then they're like, we don't want a chair outside. And you look around this neighborhood and people have toys, chairs, everything. So we're just kind of like, yeah, I think we're sick of this. We haven't told them, but we are moving. And it's not worth the price we're paying. I'm hoping to basically keep it low, the rent, and not have, like the inflation creep come into my life because, then you're just paying for bigger housing. So I'm trying to keep it very minimalist, but we can get more for what we're paying for. When I came here, I didn't really know what I was getting into. We had lost a home in New Hampshire. We were in a hotel, which was nice. We were in a hotel for about a month and a half, I want to say. Uh, February, I did not fight for the house. The landlord wanted top price. February, March, April, May. Actually, yeah, longer than that because I got here in May. So we were in a hotel for a while, and it's nice to be in a hotel. Wait a minute, I gotta take my elastic off. But I'm like, we need something more sustainable than this because some of the hotels were like, we're full tonight, we don't have room, tonight. And so moving from, hotel room to hotel room at the end was getting kind of, tiresome. Where at first we had Cap New Hampshire and they paid like a month and a half. That's what I'm thinking, like a month and a half of hotels. So, so we're moving, and along with this, I'm moving on in my life some more. So I have a court date in a couple Mondays, the 22nd at 11 o'clock. I had thought about things. I've seen some crashes in New Hampshire, things that remind me in New Hampshire of my husband. Definitely still care for him, okay? But I married a man that could have killed me. That's the type of man I married. I was watching a video today on a young girl who had a divorce, and she actually had to choose it for herself because her husband threw a hammer at her in a fit of rage. Not much different here, except I was thrown. If I was not able to stay on my feet with my high heels and I slammed into the refrigerator, if I was not able to do that, who knows? I could have hit my head, I could have fallen, anything, and he would have killed me. Same with this girl. She's like, if I was over to the left a little bit more, I would have been dead. This is the type of man I married. One who can cause me pain physically, emotionally. He didn't want to take care of me. He didn't want to be emotionally intimate, So she talks about the same thing with her husband who had trauma from being a kid, his life experience, and then he left her already and was doing stuff behind her back. So she has a channel just about how to help young girls to know when it's time to leave. It's pretty sad. And the difference between me and her, I think, and I respect this, is she said, I felt shame for choosing a man who could physically not make me feel safe. And I did not feel safe with my husband at the end after he threw me. And then, I had forgiven him. I had tried to work it out because I cared about him. And then he just, emotionally, verbally at work, screaming, taking fits. The manager's like, could you leave, because he just can't handle things right now. He's taking a fit. Customers can hear him. And then, after that, he was okay, and I went back and everything. But I'm somebody who works at things, and lately I've had people say, you're an amazing woman. You are amazing. And it's really nice to hear that compared to a husband who wants to think the worst of me and put me down all the time. So, I was thinking, like, this girl did a story about her divorce, and I was, I had gone to a pastor before with some things happening, and he just said, well, you married him. And I'm thinking, yeah, I did, but I didn't ask for this, right? So his outburst of rage and anger, when I married my husband at first, the dating, two years of serious dating after knowing him since second grade, actually like 3, everything was good. Everything was great. We'd go over to his house and swim for hours, put on some Van Halen. He loved the bathing suits I would wear. So he, we would just swim for hours together and just had so much fun, and, went out to eat, went to the movies, went bowling, just always, having friends. But when I look back and I think like the first year of our marriage, I had worked and, I was still working. I was working when I was dating him. He did not like it. He didn't like that I went to college. He didn't like that I was, now going to hairdressing school plus working at night, because I've always been a hard worker. He didn't like it. We were starting to have issues, and I could not see it. I couldn't see it. I couldn't see the control. I couldn't see the emotional and verbal abuse then. So I just, I accepted it as this is the way he is. He's got a temper, and he's just like this. So you want to be able to see red flags early in a marriage. So, definitely, I'm not saying it was all bad. Definitely there's been times that, he's always been extremely opinionated, and many times I've gone up against his opinions. And rather than just being like, oh, we have different opinions, it's like, no, you're wrong. No, no, that's not the way you do it. No. So I came from a family where my father abused me. Right after the abortion, he physically grabbed hold of me, grabbed hold of my hair, threw me against a solid door. I went skidding across the kitchen floor. He had taken me by my hair from, like, I was downstairs in my room listening to music. I had just told my mother I hated her because she not only brought me to have an abortion, but now she's giving me, different stories about whether I can date. So she's getting me in trouble. She's telling me I can date this guy Mike, and then she's going back and telling my father things about me, and just very against me. So I had it We were hanging out close, and I told her I hated her. Probably not the best way to deal with something. But my father was like, there wasn't a lot of communication or intimacy in our family. It was more like roommates. So he came downstairs, grabbed me by the hair, and I've never been fresh. Good kid, good grades, everything, good attendance in school. Grabbed me by the hair, um, in my bedroom, pulls me all the way up the stairs. I can barely walk because he's moving fast, and he's a 6-foot construction worker, right? So I'm being like dragged up the stairs, dragged around the corner in the dining room, small house, dragged in around the rail again by the phone, and then brought in the kitchen, lifting me up and just throwing me, right? And so I'm skidding across the kitchen floor, hitting my head against the door, and I have blocked out some stuff, but I cannot remember everything. But my mother was doing dishes, and she's like, "That's enough, dear. That's enough." Well, I'm getting, hit on from, physically hit on, taking a beating from my own father. And I grew up with seeing my father do this to my brother too, do all kinds of stuff to my brother, whether it was throwing a cigarette in his mouth lit to teach him not to smoke, or whether my dad would just blow up in anger, and you're walking on eggshells. You don't know when he's going to explode and when he's not. And, one time we had my nephew over, and he had some keys, and he was jumping around with the keys, and my son was just little, and he's like, "Give me the keys." And I don't think my nephew heard him, so he grabbed him by the ear and started pulling on him, and his mother was like, "Get your effing hands off my son right now. What the heck do you think you're doing?" So, my father just pulling us by the ear, just not really liking kids much, thinking that they just are a pain in the butt, and just being mean, plain old mean. So, I have not felt ashamed of marrying a man who could have killed me. I don't feel that way. I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't really have much of a standard back then. I didn't have a lot of self-confidence. I had a lot taken from me after the abortion, and I just didn't really, I just went with the flow and didn't really have much of a, not a lot of principles, not a lot of anything really, just kind of surviving in life, and, going through each day. And somebody said to me, "Could you ever remember a fun day that we had growing up?" And yeah, there was like fun stuff we did, but there was a lot of chaos at home, a lot of fighting with my parents. So, my mother took a lot though to keep the peace. So, I remember my grandmother saying, "Something's wrong with your father. He's crazy or something." My grandmother remembers him hitting my mother with a phone. And so, my grandmother too was like, "I had a father who hit me," when I told her what my father had done. And she's like, "I knew he loved me. It was just his way of showing that he loved me by throwing a lamp at me." And so my mother was like, "You deserved it. You deserve that." And I really didn't, because the communication wasn't there. My mother was always setting me up against my dad, all this stuff. But anyways, so, I don't really feel ashamed that I married a man who had all this stuff going on. I can see it now, but he could have killed me. And then now in court he sent a sworn statement he never touched me, although there's a police report in Webster of a phone call, because I didn't really want to turn him in, but I did say, "If he does this again, what are my options?" And I had forgiven him. Looking back, the mistake I made is I should have said, "We are done," right then and there, because although he said sorry over and over, he kept being verbally and emotionally abusive. And, men sometimes just don't know how to be a husband when stress comes, losing a home and stuff. So, I shouldn't have given him that second chance. And there's been a couple times with guys I've given a second chance, My first boyfriend, I gave him a second chance, and then had sex with him, and the condom broke. So I had kicked myself for that, and very much like that first experience, I gave my husband a second chance. And when I had a cancer scare, he wasn't there for me. I was there for him with the cancer scare. And, unless I saw like a 180 in my husband, we are having a divorce. And I saw something the other day that reminded me of him, and it made me miss him. And I do love him, but, you know, thinking he can touch his wife, thinking he can talk to me the way he does, thinking he can think the worst of me and make up stories about me and all this stuff, it's just, it's just gotten to the point. It's just, trying to destroy your wife is just not taking accountability for his actions and everything. It's kind of like, yeah, you're pretty destructive, and I will always love him, but unless there was a change, I mean a serious change, it's pretty much done. So, you can love somebody and you can try and try and try, but if they're not happy, I mean, there's nothing you can do. My husband wasn't happy. I brought him a motorcycle. He was happy for a little bit, then he wasn't happy again. And it just, you can only give so much as a woman. You can lay your life down like I did for my family, and he can still, stomp all over you, walk all over you, and use you. And unfortunately, that's kind of how his family is too. And that's kind of where he learned it. Looks like he's the gold digger, the real gold digger. His mother said I was a gold digger. Looks like he learned this from his mom, over money. He's, divorcing too. So, just a lot there. So I would advise young women, there's nothing you can do when you're younger and you don't know better, but when you're older and you see it, you need to get out of it. If a man ever touches you, you need to get out of it. I told him he's out of the home, he's in his truck. And I look back and, that was the right decision. And hearing others talk about this too, it only gets worse. So I always said, if a man ever touched me, that's it. And I think that's because my father did, throw me and stuff. I was like, I'm not putting up with that crap. Why would I put up with that? And so it is what it is. Just totally changed. A lot of men will change. They will take you for granted and just totally change. So that's what I got for now, guys. Look out for the red flags. Look out for the type of man. Prepare. I mean, like I said, there's nothing I could have done. I had no preparation, nothing. But I would advise younger girls to prepare for anything that you can think of before you get married. Okay, thanks for joining me, guys.